Hello everyone. Today we are going to understand about what is motion and then types of motion. So if someone asks you what is motion, you will say, okay, someone is moving and that's what we will say that it is in motion. Yes, okay, when something or someone is moving, we say that they are in motion. But what declares them moving, right? Okay, someone is moving, they are in motion. But what declares them that they are moving? Who says that, okay, you are moving? We need some proof, no? Okay. So whenever we want to say a person or a thing to be in motion, there is a very important condition. What is that condition? The condition is that the position must change with time. If you have an object or there is a person and you want to say that that person is in motion or you want to say that object is moving, then in that case, they should be changing their position with time. Matlab, let's consider that your object was at point A initially. Initially, they were at A. After 10 seconds, they move, and move to point B. So what is happening? Their position is changing, and the time is also changing. Of course, time does not stop for anybody. So time is moving only, but your position is changing with time, right? Then you come to C, then suppose you go back to B. In all of these conditions, what is happening? Then you suppose again move to A. In all of these conditions, what is happening? Your position is changing. And if your position is changing, it means that you are in motion. Simple. And what if your position is not changing? You are at A only, you are not moving only, you are at A only. Then we call that you are static. You are not moving, you are stationary, correct? Okay. This was simple about motion. Whenever the position of an object is changing with time, they are considered to be in motion. Now let's understand about types of motion. We are going to understand about six types of motion over here. The first one amongst them is the rectilinear motion. So what is rectilinear motion? Actually, it is the simplest one among the all, I'll tell you. Rectilinear motion is when an object is moving in a straight line. What do you mean by that, ma'am? See, you see over here I have made a line AB, right? And in this AB, I see this thing that there is this black dot. So what is going to happen? That this object is not going to move over here like this. Neither it is going to move like this. Neither it is going to move like this. It's not going to move anyway, except that it is going to move on a straight line like this. It's going to move on a straight line and it's going to come back in this straight line only. So whenever an object is moving in a straight line, it is considered under rectilinear motion. You must have considered or you must have seen this example a lot of times. For example, a car moving on a straight road, a bicycle moving on a straight road, right? A train sometimes move on the straight track while sometimes they rotate as well, right? There are a lot of examples when the object is moving on a straight line. Okay. Then the next type of motion which we are going to study is the circular motion. So what happens in the circular motion? In the circular motion, the object is moving in a circular path, or I could say on the circular path. So technically you see over here is a circle and this object that is nothing but a black dot is going to move on the circumference of the circle like this. And that we will call as the circular motion. It's not going to move like this anywhere, nowhere else except that it is going to move on this circle like this. And when it will be moving on this circular path, that is nothing but the circumference of the circle, it will be considered in the circular motion. For example, a bike moving on a circular track, that would be an example of circular motion. The next up what we are going to study is the rotational motion. So what is rotational motion? See, we will understand what rotation motion is, as well as we will see this thing that what is the difference in between the circular motion and the rotation motion. So see, rotation motion is when the object's axis is fixed, right? It is at the fixed position. It's not changing. Let me tell you with example. So your fan, right? Your fan. Your pen is fixed at a point, right? It's not going anywhere, that it is not fixed on the ceiling, it's running around the ceiling. It's not like that, right? It's fixed on the ceiling. Yet its blades keep moving, right? So its blades are actually in the rotation motion. They are fixed at a point, yet they are moving in a circular path, then they will be called in the rotation motion. So in the circular motion, what is happening? The entire object is moving in a circular path, while in the rotation motion, the axis of the object is fixed. They are moving around the fixed orbit, but they are still moving in the circular path. For example, if this is your fen, it is fixed at this point, right? It's not going to move, it's fixed at this point. Yet its blades going to revolve, right? They are going to revolve, revolve, and revolve. Or we could say they are going to be rotated. Hence, we say that your pen actually is in the rotation motion, or not your fan actually, no. Your blades are in rotation motion. Your fan's blade are in rotation motion. Just like that, the rotating blade of helicopter, you must have seen in the movies, of course, that how the blades, or you must have seen in real life as well, of course, what I'm saying. So, rotating blade of the helicopter, you must have seen that the helicopter, if it is still at a point, then what happens? It's fixed, right? It's fixed on the roof of it. And the blades keep moving. They keep revolving with a high speed. They are in the rotation motion, right? Also, the earth rotating on its own axis is an example of rotation motion. The spinning top is also an example of rotation motion. Now, let's understand about that what is the difference in between circular and rotation. So, see, circular is when the entire object is moving on the circular track, while the rotation is when the object is fixed at a point, yet it is moving in the circular path. Alright, now let me tell you about the other types of motion, that is the rolling motion. So, what is rolling? See, if you have understood what the circular motion was, and if you have understood what the rectilinear motion was, and if you have understood what the rotation motion was, of course you will understand what rolling motion was. So see, in the transition motion, Acha, what is transition motion, ma'am? You did not tell us about that. Rectilinear motion and the translation motion is the same thing. So let's say rectilinear motion. So when you combine the rectilinear motion and the rotation motion, you make the rolling. What is this, ma'am? For example, you have a circular thing like this, and it is rotating, right? It's rotating, just like your ball, right? Your cricket ball, if you play with it. So when it is going on the ground, let's make a straight path like this. So what is going to happen? Your ball is going to keep revolving also, and while revolving, it will be moving on the straight path also. While revolving, it is moving on the straight path also. So that's what the rolling motion is. What is rolling motion? When the object is revolving around its axis, that means it is in rotation, as well as it is moving on the straight line. That would be the rolling motion. For example, a rolling ball, right? The rolling tire of the car, it's rotating at its own axis as well as it's moving, right? It's rotating on its own axis as well as it's moving. That's what we call the rolling motion. Then is the oscillatory motion. So what is the oscillatory motion? It is to and fro motion. Now we do not know what to and fro motion is. See, it's just like the swing. What happens in the swing? It's just like this. It moves ahead, it comes back to the same point, and then it go backward, then it come back to the same point, then it go over here. If anybody of you have seen pendulum, pendulum moves in the same way. It go at this point, it come back to this point, and then it go on this point, right? This keeps moving. Someday please observe any one of these motions. Observe the swing or observe the pendulum. You will see what the oscillation motion is, and that would be very interesting to see. Okay, so next is the periodic motion. What is periodic motion? See, in your school, every period repeats after the fixed interval of time. First class of math, 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Next class of science, again 30 minutes or 40 minutes. Next class of history, again 30 minutes or 40 minutes. There is a fixed period interval, right? There is a fixed time limit. So, what is periodic motion? Periodic motion is when an object repeats it after fixed interval. For example, over here you see this red dot. It moves from here to here in 10 seconds. Then it come back over here again in next 10 seconds, then it goes over here in the 10 seconds, then again come back in the 10 seconds. So what is happening? There is a periodic motion which can be seen. The next example, in that there is a pretty sun in between and then there is a very pretty earth around it. So what happens to the earth? Everyone knows this thing, that earth keep revolving around the sun. And it's not like that once it is covering the whole round of the sun in 28 days, which is like abnormal thing. Then it covers again in the next time, it covers in 200 days. Then it covers up in the 100 days. It's not like that, right? It always takes the same time. And hence we say this thing, that motion of the earth around the sun is a periodic motion. What does that mean? That it is revolving around the sun. For example, it is start at this point. Let's name this point as A. Then what happens? It completely rotate like that, and then it come back to this point after the same interval of time, right? And again it starts, again come after the same time. So what is the periodic motion? Periodic motion is when an object repeats its motion after the fixed interval of time. In the next video, we will be studying about the speed, the average speed, we will be studying about the speedometer, and there are a lot more things which are coming up. So I believe you will be with us. That's it for today's video. That was video on the motion and the types of motion. See you in the next class. Bye. Bye. Have a good day.